Before the formulation of quantum mechanics, every apparently stochastic or random process, such as rolling dice, was understood to be deterministic, yet so chaotic in its calculation that it could be used to estimate randomness. I believe the same perspective should be applied to quantum mechanics. Rather than accepting randomness as the deepest basis of reality, or eliminating randomness with a deterministic multiverse where every possible outcome can and does occur, quantum randomness should be assumed to have the same origins as all other apparent randomness. It should be assumed to be deterministic, yet based on some chaotic input. If we take this proposition seriously, the question remains, what is the source of chaos that is determining these apparently random outcomes? The best candidate I can see for this source of chaos would be what I previously called the effective Rindler horizon of a particle, a way to describe the spatial geometry of the observational limit of the particle. You can picture this horizon as a sphere around the object, but the relative acceleration of all other objects within that sphere bend space-time and create slight deformities in the structure of this sphere. The geometry of this sphere is deterministic, determined by all of the energy in the universe, but chaotic because of how much information is incorporated. So, if this geometry somehow determines the collapse outcomes of particle states, it would mean that particle states are determined by the relative acceleration of every other particle in the observable universe. In other words, energetic transactions are determined by all previous energetic transactions. You could think of this kind of like Bitcoin transactions, where the hash of any new transaction is generated through compiling all the previous transactions on the ledger. While this concept is a bit pedantic at the level of the individual particle, considering particle collapse outcomes would still be random for all intents and purposes, it opens up the possibility of more complex dynamics emerging with collections of particles. It would create a tendency for particles to interact in ways that tend towards a type of informational similarity to, or representation of, their cosmological observations. This process would act as a kind of attractor that causes systems to tend to evolve into microcosms of the macrocosm. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know how interested I am in trying to incorporate this type of as above, so below principle of Hermeticism, astrology, and other mystical practices into a scientific framework. My own ideas aside, I think it's absolutely necessary for some type of non-trivial part-to-whole process to exist in physics, specifically some kind of process that biology is particularly suited to participate in. That seems like the most obvious possibility of how a bridge can be drawn between particle-based physics and the concept of consciousness. Even if you're a panpsychist and think everything is conscious, we'd still need an explanation as to why my consciousness is dissociated from your consciousness, or from a rock or an ocean for that matter. Anyways, I hope this video provides a decent explanation of my path of inquiry without being too abstract and hand-wavy or too specific and technical. It's certainly still a work in progress.